So
Well, it's always going to be there. It's a hard copy. It's not going anywhere.
true. Yeah, like an old friend who doesn't judge you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, um, hi, I'm Kyle Werkerly, certified professional ghostwriter. I'm glad you're listening as I welcome industry experts to share stories of lessons learned the hard way, overcoming professional hurdles, turning experience into actual knowledge, and how to connect with your target audience. This is the Career Challenges Podcast. Welcome to the Career Challenges Podcast, and my guest for this episode is Adam Pecoraro. Adam is an online fitness coach, founder of AMP Fitness, and host of the Fittest Guy in the Office podcast. So, Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. You're running a fitness program, and so obviously with the pandemic going on, you're not able to do that face-to-face. But I mean, before even the pandemic got really going and we had to, all go shelter in place where we were living, how were you running it?
Completely online, so it hasn't affected me at all.
Oh, so you were already prepared for it. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. I've done a lot of stuff online I've been doing it for a long time. So, I stopped doing in-person personal training about 2 or 3 years ago. So,
awesome. So was that just, a function, you just found it was easier to do it online and connect with people there than it was to try and go meet people?
I just don't personally like training in person. I think it's a personality thing, I think. Mm-hmm. And I'm more effective coaching people who are hard workers and high performers already and who don't need to be like babysat and I don't need to hold their hands. They kind of just have the program. They have the accountability and they just go do it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so, of course, with COVID-19 happening, there wasn't really a huge shift for you, was there?
No, if anything, it kind of drove more people online. So I'm getting found a lot easier because everybody's on social media. So with nothing to do all day, assuming that you're not an essential worker, there's not much else to do than browse social media. So
awesome. Awesome. So do you do individual training or group classes or both?
I don't do classes actually. Okay. So it's all program based. And I follow them throughout the 3 months that we're working together. It's a minimum of 3 months. So a lot of people still re-sign with me. I have a guy who just re-signed for another 3 months. So we've been working together for 6 months now. And so I just customize the programs and I follow them through it.
All right. So I guess walk me through how you do the program, because my train of thought right now, I'm part of Camp Gladiator, but that was before COVID-19. We'd all meet in a parking lot. We do like a lot of CrossFit training. And I got kind of that training help there with form and getting into shape. And of course, now with the pandemic, we're doing it mostly through Zoom. And it's still kind of that group training mentality. So then how is that different from what you do?
I am actually the opposite. I really don't like group training. I did it for a while. I worked at a boutique gym for a while and I was doing circuit training with, it wasn't really group training. It was more like semi-private. So it was 2 to 4 people usually. And I don't know. I'm not a group culture kind of guy. So I think that the one-on-one, so when you enter the program, I have a really intense questionnaire that kind of gives me all the information that I would need about you. And I build a program from scratch. So I only take about 10 clients at a time so I can be sure to devote the proper amount of time to each one. And I use the questionnaire. First, we talk. We have a good conversation to make sure that you're even the right fit to be in the program. And then I ask additional information. So it's rare that I even have to change anything after that for the initial like few weeks. Because it usually works with the person, but say like there's a lifestyle change or like something like this happens where it's just completely different. I did have to completely rewrite a lot of my clients' programs. So that's what I'm there for. That's what you pay for, is that you have someone there all the time. So we have our weekly calls and our weekly check-ins. So there's no way for you to fail unless you don't listen to what I tell you unless you don't do what I tell you. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's always that accountability.
Yeah. And so is the questionnaire to kind of help you weed out those who will not listen?
I actually, now that you say it, I have two questionnaires. So I have an
Oh, wow.
intake questionnaire first. It's very short. It's like 10, maybe 10 questions max. And it's just about you. So I don't even take someone who I know right away is not going to be a good fit from those questions. And if I need to refer out or refer to a friend or something, then I'll do that. But yeah, once you pass that questionnaire, it's not even a real questionnaire. It's like your name, your email, whatever. Like what are your goals, things like that. Um, Once you pass that, we have a call, we talk, and then we move on. Once you become a client, then that's the questionnaire that's like about your lifestyle, your food that you like, your whatever past history, eating history, injuries, things like that.
Awesome. Awesome. And so do you also do nutrition as well, or is it just strictly fitness?
I do, and I studied exercise science. Well, I'm currently also studying exercise science. I have a bachelor's degree already, and I'm just finishing my master's. But I did study nutrition as well. I just didn't finish I didn't go on to be a dietitian. I didn't do the RD certification, or license. Sorry. And so I'm not a dietitian, so I can't legally prescribe a meal plan, but I do the nutrition part of it. And I like do nutrition education and like sample meal plans. So
Awesome. Awesome. And so with your clients, and you say you focus specifically on corporate employees, high performing entrepreneurs and execs, how did you decide that was kind of your target audience who you could help the most?
because the successful people generally are not people who are going to fall off of my program. They're going to actually do it, and they're going to want to do a good job. So success shows up in all parts of your life. And I was tired of working with, the girl who wants to lose 10 pounds, the guy who wants to build muscle yesterday, like the impatient yo-yo dieters. I was tired of working with the general population. And even though I'm still technically working with the general population, it's like I don't want to say elite, because you don't have to be elite to work with me, but you will be when you're done.
True. But I guess those who are looking for, they're specific about it. It's not just, I want to get in shape. It's, I have to be fit, or, have a healthy lifestyle, and Adam's going to help me do that.
Yeah. It's more, they have a goal in mind instead of like, I want to be fit. That's it's a very broad thing to want. Like, I want to be successful. Well, what do you want to do? So I help them clarify their goals first of all, and I help them develop a system that's going to work for them. I don't just have one program. So that's the difference between me and a lot of other online coaches that you see on Instagram, because they all pull the Google Sheets out of the drawer, and they hand you that program, and then you never hear from them again. So for me, I make that program. I always quote everyone a week, because I want to be sure that it's good for the person, that it's a good fit for the person, and it's adaptable. So I can modify it as we're going along.
Awesome. So that to me sounds like there's probably more work on the back end that you're kind of assessing, tweaking, and then coming up with exercises that work either for their skill level or kind of where they want to go.
The work, I wouldn't say it's on the back end, because that stuff is kind of streamlined. I know what to, like, there may be like 10 clients, like 10 different client profiles. So I know a guy who wants to gain weight, or a girl who needs to lose 20 pounds or whatever. And by the way, I mostly work with men, but I do take on a few female clients here and there. But I know the general profile, so I can kind of, building the program is not the most time intensive part of it. It's more following the client and just the unpredictable things. So you have a bad week. What do I need to do to get you back on track? How can I motivate you? So it's more like just being there as a coach. The coaching is the most time intensive part. It's not the program design.
Oh, true. Okay. That sounds cool. I don't do a lot of fitness coaching, or actually I do no fitness coaching, I should say. So to me, it's always interesting. Well, how did they approach it? Because, when I'm helping somebody with a book, there's a certain mindset that goes into that. So, some people assume that if you're helping somebody, it's automatically X mindset. but helping people in different industries and different to achieve different goals, it's always a different kind of mindset, and I'm always fascinated to learn what that is. But I still catch myself here and there like, okay, that's not the same thing. And so with you and with you helping your clients to get to a specific fitness goal or a health goal that they want, are you finding that their mindset and your mindset, are they usually in tune? Are you on the same wavelength? Or are you trying to, I guess, feel where they are and then come alongside them?
A little bit of both. It really depends on the person. Sometimes they're completely off, and by the end of our program, they're a different person. Sometimes we are the same person. We work really well together. So it really just depends.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool. How did you decide that fitness was what you wanted to do? Looking back now, on your past, was there kind of a moment in time where you were like, okay, this is where I had the idea to do what I'm doing now?
Um, it wasn't really like there was no. I kind of just like fell into it because it became part of my life. I did a lot of things wrong, and I've been through every stage of fitness and every stage of, like disordered eating and being an athlete and bodybuilding and like trying to shred as much as possible as quickly as possible. So I've been through every stage, and I think it was just that made me realize that I can help a lot of different types of people. So fitness is a part of my daily life. So I think it's important to make that a part of your lifestyle and not make it run your life.
Yeah. You're also not just a trainer, but in the intro, it said you're also a podcast host. So what gave you the idea to also do a podcast on top of being a fitness coach?
Well, the idea was actually selfish because I used to be a horrible speaker. I would say I'm a mediocre speaker. So I was a horrible speaker, and I was just really, I can't even explain how horrible I was. And so I really, since I could hide behind the camera, my first few episodes I only did the audio. So I could hide behind the microphone, not the camera. And so that was more like for me to practice and try and like segue into video.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started to realize, just because I was talking to some powerful people and some really high performers, some really successful people, and just talking to them kind of motivated me or inspired me, I guess is a better word, to get on camera and actually make a podcast that's useful to people.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that all my episodes are useful, but it was more, I started like, okay, I'm going to do this podcasting thing. I didn't really have a direction, but now it's more to help either young men young successful, I don't know, young men with goals, high performers who want to go somewhere, who want to get fit as well. But it's for any guy at any stage of life. And funny enough, I have a lot of females listening to the podcast, which is funny to me because it's not that I put myself in a box and closed off females to the podcast. The whole point was just so that it would be like a guy's place to come for a lot of information that isn't normally talked about. And
Mm-hmm.
now I have like a lot of females listening to the podcast. I don't know why, but they seem
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they haven't left any reviews, or you haven't been able to talk to them directly?
No, but anytime I ask, I like, because I'm on all social media platforms. So sometimes like I'll get a message on Instagram or a message on TikTok, and they say that they listen to my podcast, but they don't come up with any real answers. They're just like, oh, it's really interesting. So it's like, I wouldn't listen to like I don't know, like a successful boss babe podcast, but I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
have an answer for that.
Yeah. Sometimes we get listeners and it's like, I don't know how this happened, but I'm sure there's some data scientists out there who's probably listening to this and be like, I know how we can find an answer.
Well, send me a message because I don't know.
It's interesting. I'm sure there's a hidden market there,
Maybe.
So the format for the Fittest Guy in the Office podcast, what is it? You say you do a lot of talking and recording with the video. Do you do interviews, or are you really just covering topics pertinent to what you do?
I do both. So I do one solo episode and one interview episode, and a lot of them, actually, I think all of them have come from LinkedIn. So, yeah, talking to some high performing, successful people.
Awesome. Awesome. So, I was trying to talk shop here with other podcast hosts. The way I like to do it, obviously interview based. All my episodes, except one or two, have been interview based, and I'm always trying to get people who, of course, fit the mold of what I'm trying to fit the mold of my target audience, what I feel would benefit them the most. And so when I set that up and I started talking with people and trying to get guests for the show, it was about, well, A, do they fit? B, or can we get a good conversation going, good back and forth? Because I didn't want to have just, I'm going to ask them one question, ask them another, boom, boom, boom. It was trying to get like a dialogue going. So when you started approaching your podcast, I guess what was your main goal in doing it, and then what was your plan for your approach?
I didn't have a plan, and I think that's something that I'm very much a planner, but sometimes it takes over my life, and I don't end up doing anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I just went straight for it, and I just recorded and edited, and then just threw the episodes up, and I didn't really have a real direction, and I don't know. I don't really regret it, but I do wish that I would have put in some more effort planning, because I've been sitting on like 20 episodes and I haven't edited them, and I'm not motivated to edit them because I see a mountain of of episodes. I also tried to get people to edit for me, but I have a very specific format that I want, and like things that I would have cut out. I don't know why someone would leave them in. So it's like really like something that I should be doing. So yeah, that's important to plan, and it's a lot of work. It's another job, and on top of other platforms, it's not something that I have time for. But I'm in it, so I kind of kind of have to now.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
like it though.
Yeah, I do my own editing as well, and I feel that not only am I committed, I wanted to do this, I set it up, I started getting people to come onto the show, but now, and I don't want to jinx myself, knock on wood, I feel the guests are coming to me more. I don't feel I have to really go out and talk to them. They're coming to me to the point where I feel I have a healthy amount of episodes waiting to go out, so that way if something were to happen and I can't touch it for a month or two, it's not going to be detrimental to the podcast and have pod fade, which what I've heard of. And, I'm always worried, am I going to fall victim to pod fade, to where the podcast just kind of dies out. So I'm just, hoping that never happens. So with you and your podcast, I mean, you said you've got those 20 episodes, you've got to edit and everything, but do you feel you have a good enough amount of episodes ready to go out that you don't have to worry about that?
No, I don't have any. I need to edit all of those. I need to edit them a week ago. So yeah, that's something that I really need to get better about, and having a consistent schedule, because I have the interest and I have the people that want to, like, they've been asking for their episodes, and it's to the point where if I would have planned it, had I planned it correctly, I would have been good for a few months, like at least
Mm-hmm.
5-6 months of consistent episodes. But now I kind of just have to release them all at the same time. So I need to just edit them and kind of release a few a week, because it's been so long. But yeah, I mean, I started podcasting in January. No, I started podcasting on Christmas. So that's when
Okay.
that's when I uploaded my first episode. So I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but it's still like 6 months ago, so like 5 months ago. So I don't know, actually, I can't really count, but it wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started in June of last year. So um, all the stuff that I started building it in April, launched in June. So all the stuff that I had like set up, like I'm seeing it 1 year later, all that stuff popping up, like Spreaker. I use Spreaker, and they're like, well, it's been a year. I'm like, has it? It doesn't feel like that. So that's been interesting just to see that come back around in full circle. So when it comes to podcasts, and I get this question a lot because I'm producing my own podcast. They ask, well, what podcast do you listen to? So then I'm curious, what kind of podcast do you listen to, Adam? Both for professional reasons and also for just fun.
I listened. I fall trapped to have, like, anytime I hear someone say they listen to a certain podcast, I always feel like I have to go listen to it. So I don't really listen to any consistently,
Mm-hmm.
but I do listen to I'll listen to a Gary Vee sometimes. But I keep my phone in my hand because I have to skip most of it because it's mostly just him talking,
Mm-hmm.
like rambling. I listen to entrepreneurs on fire, but same thing. I get tired of that sometimes too. Um, Podcasting Secrets is a good one, or sorry, Marketing Secrets by Russell Brunson. It's a good
Mhm.
one. Yeah, it depends. Like if I'm in a marketing mood or if I'm in a science kind of mood, it really just depends. I listen to all kinds of different podcasts, but most of it is like um, business or development, things like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. The podcasts I usually listen to are more marketing focused and marketing based, like How to Build a Story Brand podcast, Donald Miller. Entrepreneur Way, Neil Ball. Always, I always feel he always has a lot of good content and people that he's talking to. So it's like I love learning from them. But when it comes to fun podcasts, and funny story here as well. I listen to The Office ladies because I love The Office, and so then Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey put together kind of a a rewatch party, and they're going through it that way. And then I had Gina Horkey on there, and her episode dropped or is going to drop well before this one, so everyone will probably hear this before this episode drops. But she's like, "Oh, I need to listen to that," and so literally in the middle of our podcast, she starts subscribing to it. So I was like, "Well, they got one more listener thanks to me." So, maybe I should start charging for that now that I think about it.
But yeah, get an
Yeah.
affiliate link.
Yeah. So with you and your podcast and how you're running it and your guests, you say you do kind of a one standalone and then one interview. Do you kind of build off of each other? So if you interviewed somebody and they mentioned something, do you go ahead and do your standalone based on something that they said, or is it the other way around?
You mean like because it's like the different episode? So it's a different episode. Like I'll post twice a week. That's what you mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like the standalone, like it's really like just whatever I want to talk about. It doesn't have to be like an hour episode, 30 minutes. It's more like if I want it to be 5-10 minutes, then it just is. So it's just really if I have something to say, but I try and make it. That's another thing that I did when I started podcasting is I was like, oh, I'm going to post twice a week, but I hadn't even posted one episode yet. So I didn't know what I was in for. And I kind
Mm-hmm.
of committed to that already. But I mean, my episodes are not the worst of it is editing the interview. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, like when I'm by myself, I don't have this kind of dynamic. So I record 1,000 times. I still make mistakes. So that's it. Still takes me just as long. So I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're all just figuring out as we go along, and I feel I'm learning a lot more each and every episode, and in a way, it's almost like I get free counseling and what's another one? Free coaching as well. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I see a definite benefit there. So then I always want to ask a fellow podcast host, what's kind of been some interesting stories you've had with guests? I mean, both the good and the bad. When I say bad, you don't have to mention names. I always try to be vague. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but there's some characters out there. I'm like, you guys are really real. This is odd. So then what have been some of your favorite stories with guests in your podcast?
I don't know. I haven't really had like any weird. Like everything's been fine. So I really don't. I'm lucky, I guess, that everything's like I don't have anything to complain about. But uh, I don't know. I mean, I've had some guests that were like the podcast was long, like it was like maybe an hour or a little over an hour, and I kind of felt like at the end like they didn't want to be there anymore. So I was like, okay, well, do I ask another question? What do I like? Do I keep this
Mm-hmm.
going? Do I tell them they're free to go? What do I do? So like it was just kind of awkward, but it was fine. So I really don't have any interesting stories for you.
Yeah. Well, I do remember when I was first getting started, I kind of felt I had to say yes to everybody so that way I could get enough guests. But I've quickly learned that was a bad idea, that I needed to learn to say no. Because one incident, and I don't think I ever used this episode, but I was ready to record. This was going to be the official recording. Guy calls in and he goes, well, I thought we were just going to talk about it. I wasn't prepared to do
What?
an actual recording. So I was so mad too. I was like, you just wasted an hour of my time. And so, yeah, so I started kind of hedging a little bit. Like whenever I set up the sign-in spot, I actually put in there, be ready to record when you sign up for your specific time. And since then I haven't had that happen. So either I've scared them off, or I guess I've just gotten smarter with how I've been finding my guests for each interview. But then also, have people approached you to be on your podcast?
To be on my podcast, I don't. Yeah, I think a couple have actually. I probably need to write back to respond to someone. I'm pretty sure that I got a message the other day. Yeah, a couple have, but I think I don't promote it very well. So I think if I did, people would want to be on it more. Also, if I were more consistent, I think definitely need to work on that.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, because about 20, 25 episodes in, I got my first PR pitch, and I felt, oh, wow, that means I'm serious. Somebody sees me as serious, so that means I'm serious. And that was huge for me. And I felt, oh, I finally arrived. But really, it was just one of those little things. I do get a PR pitch every now and then. But I was like, that's great. And then after a while, other people have started to pitch me themselves. They don't have necessarily somebody doing the PR for them. They just do their research, and they find a podcast that they feel would be good for them. And most of the time they're right. Most of the time that person is a good fit for my target audience. I want them to be on the podcast like you, Adam. It worked out. I was like, okay, this guy would be a great fit for my audience. I want to bring him on. Let's get him talking. But then there's been one or two where I'm like, it's obvious you haven't done your research here. Or you're just really trying to pitch a product. Like you feel my target audience would be great for your product and they want to pitch it. One guy had said, I see you're running the Career Challenges podcast. I would hope that your audience would be interested in my book and how it can help them overcome their challenges. I said, okay, he's got a book. I'm never going to turn away an author because it's a great marketing platform for authors and for their books. And so I asked him, okay, so how have you overcome challenges in your career in writing your book? And he immediately came back to me and said, I don't think your show is a great, fit for me, and left. I was like, well, we just saved each other some time there.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So it worked out. And I guess that's one of the things I've learned as I've moved into or gotten more experience in podcasting is how to, I guess, weed out those who may not be the best fit without being rude, with being professional. And that way I still feel we're leaving on good terms. So.
Yeah. And, I think it's good to be vague about how long your podcast episode is, because sometimes if it's like, I think when you say like I have a 1 hour show at the beginning, then you're kind of obligated. But if it's like a weird situation, you can just be like, okay, well, I like to keep it short, so we're done here.
Sure. Yeah, and I've set it up too where I have my minimum and I have my maximum, but we're usually going over the maximum. Like I always try and kind of end it around 45 minutes. But most of the time we're going over, and that's not a bad thing because me and the guest are having a good conversation. We're talking a lot, and usually about the 45-minute mark, that's when I'm like, okay, let's start wrapping it up. So I'm not trying to cut them off at 45 minutes. And I think that's probably the best thing to do because I'm an awkward guy anyway. So I don't want to just step in and say, well, we got to end the show now.
Yeah.
I like that, slow cutoff. And that's also another thing that's great about podcasting is it's not a set time block that I have to get in because it's not going out on the radio. It's not going out on TV. So, I feel lucky there. I don't have to really keep my guest reined in or anything.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. I don't know. I like to keep it short, but yeah, no, I do. I go over all the time, but I just know in my head, like I get like anxiety in my head because I'm like, oh, I don't even want to edit 30 minutes, but this is like going to be an hour and a half. So I don't know. I'm going to say that like this whole episode is just going to be me saying that I need to get on my podcast. I need to edit my podcast.
Well, at the very least, hopefully it motivates you.
It will. Yeah. Every time I do this, like, I'm like, okay, well, you need to get it together, but yeah, you're going to motivate me. I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Oh, thanks.
The famous phrase.
Yeah. And it's also teaching me better time management, which is always something I have a problem with. Well, also I have kids, I have a family. So, family comes first. And so a lot of times when I feel I have time to work on stuff, that's when the family is like, oh, we got to do this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's why you do it at night, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it at night, and I have a day job as well, so they're taking up the best part of the day. But I'm working on changing that so that that way. That won't be my norm. And that's another thing that's motivating as well. Because, talking with podcasts and, people who are successful and who are working towards where they want to be, like you, Adam, I realize it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, and a lot of that people just don't see. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, we're not going to sit here for an hour and talk about every day where you came home from a job that you didn't like and were like, I quit. I don't want to do this. I don't want to give up. But you find some way to pull yourself off the floor and keep going. And that's almost a daily thing, or at least it is with me. I don't know if my story is that unique. But just that feeling that, okay, I've got to keep pushing on, even though I feel I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and it's taking way longer than I thought it should. Would you like to be a guest on the Career Challenges podcast? Go to careerchallengespodcast.com to find out how. While you're there, check out other episodes and download them through Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. The Career Challenges podcast is hosted by me, Kyle Weckerly. I'm a certified professional ghostwriter who works with business thought leaders and industry experts to write polished manuscripts, assess their publishing options, and create book marketing plans. I've worked with consultants, high-ticket salespeople, coaches, speakers, C-level executives, and business owners. My authors have worked for USAA, Vistage, Booz Allen Hamilton, Austin Technology Council, and Twitch. My authors know that writing a book will help them change the world. They know that the story they tell will create that change. So they want to write a book to serve as a platform for their marketing endeavors. They know a published book will help them secure more speaking gigs, market their expertise, promote a product or service, and more. So reach out to Kyle Weckerly at weckerlywriter.com to start your publishing journey. Maybe you're not ready to start that journey just yet, but you do know that you want to write a book. So where to begin? Well, if you're ready, go to weckerlywriter.com to download 101 questions to ask before writing your book. This will help you get started and will offer guidance on the next steps to turn your ideas, experience, and actionable knowledge into a completed manuscript. Just visit weckerlywriter.com to get your free copy today. That's weckerlywriter.com. weckerlywriter.com. And now, back to the Career Challenges podcast.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was part of I was in the corporate world for a very short time, like a year. So yeah, I definitely get that. Like I'm lucky to be where I am, where I am working online, and I can kind of make my own hours. And no, I definitely do make my own hours, and I have time for this. I don't know how you would like have such a successful podcast and like be able to do creative things when you have your day job and you have kids, and I don't have any of that, and I still am struggling to get my creativity and just my content out there in addition to working with my clients.
Awesome. I'm glad it's not just me then.
It's not, trust me.
Yeah, true. You had mentioned your favorite book, that You Are a Badass.
By Jen. I don't remember. I always forget her last name. It's like Jen Sincero or Cisnero. I wrote it down.
Yes, Sincero. Jen Sincero. Okay, yeah. You Are a Badass.
One of my favorite books. Just because you need it sometimes. Like you just need someone to tell you like stop doing this. Just like because it's not. And nobody's telling you that you can't do things. It's literally just yourself. And so, yeah, sometimes I just, one time I think I read it. I've never read the book. I've listened to it on Audible. So,
hey, that still counts.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I listened to it and then I just restarted it again as soon as it ended. So, sometimes I just need it, and it always, she has like a really nice voice and she's really funny too. So I like her.
Awesome. Yeah. I've been, re-listening to Seth Godin, a couple of his books, Linchpin and This Is Marketing. Not only is Seth Godin, I feel he has a great voice for narrating a book, but I feel his content is just really impactful and helping from a marketing perspective, obviously, but also just, how he's able to share that. And so I'm looking not only at what he's talking about as far as marketing is concerned, but also his delivery, which is great. So
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with him. I know who he is, obviously, and I have Lynchpin. I don't think I've read it yet, but I have a list of, I have a library of books that I still need to listen to. But yeah,
yeah.
no, I've heard good things about his podcast as well.
Yeah, me too. I have a long list of books that I need to read. I know I'm probably not going to get to all of them, but I'm going to keep adding books to them anyway.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's better than having none,
Yeah.
right?
So circling back to you said, and this is something that I'm passionate about, but that listening to a book is not the same as reading it. But they've actually done research, and I want to point this out. They've done research that when you listen to a book, it's still activating similar parts in the brain as if you were reading it with just your eyes. So they're saying listening to a book still counts as reading a real book. And so I got into it with a cousin once because she's like, "You're not really reading a book; it's an audiobook." And I pulled out that article, and I got on my soapbox, and I'm like, I'm going to win this argument. I have read that book, even though it was an audiobook, it still counts.
I I tend to I think the only books that I've ever read, the only like hard copy books that I've read that I've actually paid attention to all the way was Harry Potter and the Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia
Oh
series.
yeah.
Because otherwise, I find myself like I'll read the page and I'll be like, I don't even know what I just read. So audiobooks really help me because I multitask. So in the morning I listen to the Story Brand. I don't. That's funny that you mentioned his podcast because I listened to his book, his audiobook, like
Awesome.
while I'm doing dishes. I don't know why. I just doing dishes has become part of my morning routine. Like I just leave them. So I do dishes and like make coffee and everything, and I listen to Story Brand until I get ready, and then I'll go like do what I need to do. But
Awesome.
I don't remember where I was going with that though.
That's fine. Yeah, just
Oh, because I'm multitasking, and so I find that I'm like, okay, that's a really good piece of information. If I were reading that on paper that early in the morning before coffee, I don't think that I would even comprehend.
yeah, true, true. And I've been listening more than actual reading. So it's been a while since I've picked up a physical book, and I feel bad because like I said, I've got that long list of books I need to read, and most of them are on my nightstand next to my bed, and so I have like a stack of about four deep, about three different stacks, four deep, of books that I will eventually read. Some of them I think are halfway through. I was reading the biography of Walt Disney for a time, and that's like a tome, like a good 1,000-word biography. And I made it halfway through, and I was so proud of myself. I'm like, I'm gonna read this book. It's a door stopper. It's huge. And then something happened. I stopped reading it, and so it's on my nightstand at the bottom of one of those stacks, and I feel bad. So
Well, it's always going to be there. You know it's a hard copy. It's not going anywhere.
true. Yeah, like an old friend who doesn't judge you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, um, so you say for let's bring it all back around to where we started with your fitness coaching that you do. You do most of your marketing through social media. Did you decide to do it that way just for economic reasons, or were you just more comfortable with that marketing approach?
I think it was just more comfortable. I've always been in the social media world. I wasn't really like born into it like the Gen Zers, but I don't remember a time where there wasn't social media. So I don't know. I just was more comfortable, I guess. It started with just my friends and then like, it kind of evolves from there, but also economical, I guess. But I I've never really run. I've done some ads before, but I've never really run ads. So I will actually. I'm looking at doing that right now. So um, I think it was just the fact that I didn't have any knowledge in marketing at all when I first started, and that's something that coming from a science background, it's you wouldn't know anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
even as from a business background, sometimes like you kind of have to directly study marketing and actually be in that world to know what you're doing. But I struggled a lot, and I had to learn a lot of stuff on my own and do a lot of research and courses and stuff. So I not in school, but like courses. I bought courses,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, which was more more valuable than university. Yeah, that's. I think it was just the ease of social media that's why I did that.
Awesome. So do you have, I guess, a specific strategy that you're following, and how are you implementing that?
So strategy is I've actually changed this a few times because I enjoy working with men who want to lose fat and gain muscle. So I've had to rework my messaging a lot because not that I can't, it's not that I dislike working with women. It's that I prefer working with guys who are similar to me or who I used to be. So it's
Hmm.
what I feel like I'm most efficient and most just effective at coaching those types of people. And time again, women will always ask me for coaching, and I don't get it because like sometimes I'll put up there like I work with high performing men who, you know, like it's very obvious my program and my podcast are called The Fittest Guy in the Office. So but still it attracts that hardworking woman. So I mean, I guess I will take them because I do
Hmm.
work with both. But yeah, it's just funny. I've changed my messaging a lot to attract that guy, and I have one guy who fits that profile right now. So two guys. I have two guys who fit that profile right now. Um, but the story brand, like I've been listening carefully to it because I'm trying to test my messaging and kind of have like a better strategy. But my strategy now is like just getting that funnel down. So funneling from different platforms. I'm actually starting a newsletter and eventually a blog that I just have too much. I'm doing too much right now that I can't
Sure.
even look at that right now. But the newsletter I think is really important because it can be repurposed from social media content
Hmm.
and it can be as simple as you want it to be.
True. True. And you mentioned most of your clients are coming from LinkedIn.
Most of my podcast guests are
Oh,
from
the guests. That's right.
LinkedIn, but
Yeah.
it's yeah. I have one. I have one guy, one guy and a girl from LinkedIn, and then a lot of my other ones are coming from TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, cool. So do you feel that, I guess, are those platforms more geared towards the type of person that you're trying to attract for your fitness coaching?
Not at all. I think LinkedIn is the place where all of my ideal clients are, but
Mm.
it just happens to where the other platforms people reach out more. So I think on LinkedIn, people are hesitant because a lot of high performers don't prioritize their fitness, or they think that they can do it themselves because, you know, they're successful. So why couldn't they be successful in another area? So
Hmm.
a lot of them are not open to having a coach, or some of them aren't even coachable at all. So I think that's kind of the problem with LinkedIn. But I haven't been on long enough to form an opinion. I started in January, so
Hmm.
um, yeah, maybe in a few months I'll be able to like kind of feel out the environment a little bit more.
Definitely. Definitely. Um, so then for, I guess, TikTok, I'm not on TikTok, so you're probably gonna have to educate me here. But it's more video based, right?
It's completely video based, yeah. So it's more like, I mean, it's kind of like a LinkedIn video where you just can't post more than a minute. I guess it's similar to Instagram, but just
Yeah.
Instagram videos. It's a minute, but it's more like it's less polished. So it's meant to be like something that everybody can use.
Hmm.
There is kind of a learning curve with the editing, but it's nothing like editing a video for like YouTube, for example.
Yeah. True. True. So, I guess walk me through what you put into your videos. Is it just you talking about fitness, or are you actually doing demonstrations?
Mine's more like fitness and comedy. So it's like I'll make fun of things that are like fitness myths, or I'll make fun of people who are posting like stupid things, just like dumb advice or like just wrong information. Um, I'll do some workouts, although the workouts don't do as well. I think people are looking for entertainment, so it's more like if I post like a rant or something, like those do really super well. I had one video go really viral, and it was just I made it in 5 minutes. And it was me just like saying different nutrition facts, and the reason it went viral is because it hit a lot of pain points and like a lot of um, controversial topics that are not actually controversial. Just like people always have an opinion when it comes to everybody becomes a scientist when you say something that they don't like. And
Hmm.
so I got a lot of hate on my comments for that. But that is the sole reason why I have a platform today, because I woke up to 5,000 followers from that, and I had 80 followers the night before. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. That's impressive. So that reminds me of, and I forget the guy's name. A friend of me was showing me these videos, and I didn't bother to learn the guy's name, but they're amusing. He's like he's all ripped and shredded, and he's kind of doing your stereotypical muscle head stuff. And he's like, so is every day Om day? Yeah, every day's Om day, because you got to like open the door. That makes it an Om day. So that's what it was making me think of, that, just kind of the meathead jock approach.
Yeah.
But so I'm sure you've seen him. I'm doing a horrible impression.
Probably. Yeah. I know a lot of the guys in the industry by now, but I maybe he's a new guy. I don't know.
Yeah. So awesome. So if people, if listeners to this episode want to get in shape, and they're high performing individuals, men and women, how can they find you, Adam?
Well, my website is thefitadam.com, and so is my social media handles, thefitadam. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, really any platform, the Fit Adam.
Awesome. And so then, what's next for you?
I'm going to keep doing growing my coaching business, but who knows? Tomorrow I could find yet another platform to be on. But I love social media, so I think just growing and whatever comes along, I'll take that.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being on the Career Challenges podcast with me today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to the Career Challenges podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Career Challenges podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Visit careerchallengespodcast.com for more information. And if you really like me, then you'll write a review. And don't forget to pick up your free copy of 101 Questions to Ask Before Writing Your Book by visiting weckerlywriter.com. That's WECKERLYWRITER.com.